Hello, everyone. I am here today with spacesuit engineer Amanda Dang and doula Brittany Mason. They are the co-founders of This Is Spaceware, the first fem-tech company creating innovative solutions for the woman's cyclical body, inspired by spacesuit engineering. The company was established to address a long-standing gap in maternal care, the lack of anatomically engineered function first recovery solutions. Guided by their philosophy, Ancient Future, This Is Spaceware restores time honored postpartum practices such as womb wrapping using precision textile science and 3D knit engineering. I have to say, as a mom to be myself and knowing kind of what's out there in the postpartum market, I have not seen anything quite like what you guys are creating. And so I have to ask, how does it feel to be the pioneers of something that truly is revolutionary and has not been done before?
We don't know yet. It just launched.
Yeah, you guys are in the beginning stages. I noticed on your website you're in the pre-order stage right now.
Yeah,
for the product, right? Yeah.
I would say it's within a year that we got from product development, iterations, prototyping, and then iterate some more to the point to launch within around a 1 year time frame. That's pretty amazing for any product development.
Yeah, and I know Britt and I were talking yesterday, since Britt is my doula, that there's a lot that goes into entrepreneurship, and it takes a lot of grit, I think, to do what you guys are doing and create something that a lot of women truly are going to benefit from. So I want to ask you guys as well. At first glance, it seems like your vocational backgrounds are two very different fields. So how did you guys meet and what started this collaboration?
I'm going to let Amanda answer that.
Well, we met a long time ago back in California, 15 years ago, and then we got reunited here in Jersey. And one day we just had lunch, our first 1 second meetup. And then we started just talk about what each other do in this area. And I think I share too much passion about how much I love, working on suits. And then Brittany messaged me afterwards and she started having all these ideas. And I just learned that I never knew her like this. And it just never stops.
It's true. It's true. I think also we are equally yoked in our ambition and our courage and, as you said, our grit, right? And when we do talk, it's always about solving a problem, what we're going through in our career. We really support and lift each other up in that way. And that's sort of how this even came to be, because I faced a challenge with the birth. Amanda was facing challenges herself. And when we get together, we talk about what that looks like as women and, in our careers, just naturally always talking about what we love.
And one thing I would add is Brittany is so engineering minded. Out of anybody I know that's not an engineer. So
yeah, so it seems like you guys both had this inner wisdom that clicked and aligned and came together to create this, which is amazing. So I want to ask you guys about this first product that you're launching, the KB5 Knotted Belly Bind. What is belly binding? Can you explain the process of it and what it is used for in postpartum?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take that one. Belly binding has been around since birth, right? And we know this because there are plenty of data and historical information that show this, right? And it's not unique to just one part of the world. Every culture around the world has known that womb wrapping or binding has benefits post-birth. How every culture has approached that has been a little bit different, but the wisdom has been the same. And so the binding is to help the organs and stabilize the pelvic floor and bring blood flow back to the heart. Once you have a baby, your womb space is, traditional Chinese medicine would say, more cool rather than warm, right? Because less blood flow. So and then in Ayurveda, same thing. So we understand why we bind, why women have always bound, and why that's been taught. And then how do you take that practice and meet women where they are today? Is a challenge, depending on where you live, where you give birth. How quickly do you have to go back to work? Do you have somebody to help wrap you after? Do you have the time to wrap? Is it accessible? Do you even know about it? All of these things come into it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've even seen on social media platforms where there are belly binding practices that require multiple people, and it's beautiful and definitely beneficial. But however, there is certainly a theme, I feel like, amongst modern women that this product is going to help with, which is maybe a woman doesn't have as many people around her, as much community. So many women are traveling the world. They have careers. There is so much expansion that has come in the space of womanhood. And so how does this product and the way that you guys have created it support the modern woman as she goes through this transition?
Yeah. Well, one, accessibility, and two, the time it takes. And that was the challenge that I came to Amanda with, right? I was like, here, this is how you do traditional binding, right? It's this really long piece of cloth, over 9 feet long. This is how you wrap, this is how you knot it. Typically it takes 2 people. This was the challenge that I proposed to her that I knew she would be up to, because once you understand how spacesuit design works, which I get the honor of listening to by having this friendship, which I'm like in awe of, because I love space. Who doesn't, right? And so I knew that by presenting this challenge to her, that she would be able to put her brain power towards this, right? And so why not use somebody's skill set in a different way that can benefit, even though the principles are the same, right? And so it's understanding, like, how do we, one, as women, cross-innovate for the better of humanity? And two, why not? It hasn't been done, and women need accessibility and anatomically designed products to meet them where they are. I mean, you can hear the question coming out now.
I would say, yeah, like I have not been exposed how much hardship and torture this birth giving process has been, because I don't have kids myself. So never really hit me how traumatizing it is, from the before to the end. I think moms they're very, I mean, Kate, you can testify to it. You're in love with your kid already. At this point, you're in love with him or her afterwards. I think that hormone, maybe just a little bit societal downplay, making this less traumatic. But from an outsider perspective, seeing all the tearing, seeing all the, potential and just the tremendous pain during laboring, I realized I did not know that. I did not know every woman that has kid have to go through such experience, and let alone, the postpartum recovery. So it's a bit of a lack of knowledge, kind of inspired me at least, to equate the physical suffering of women to astronauts suffering under a pressurized government. And to be honest, this is spacesuit inspired. in a way, spacesuits are pressurized garment. The working principle, I can't say as an engineer is exactly the same as this garment. It's not. It's inspired by spacesuits, but we both have to do something with pressure, and women needs that pressure for postpartum recovery.
Would you guys say that there is a similar experience that happens in the body when a woman gives birth and obviously she releases all this weight, and astronauts coming back down to Earth and having to reacclimate to the gravity that we have here? I would love if you guys could go into that, because I think that is where a lot of people can start making the connection of obviously both the gifts that you guys have together and also why this belly binding product is going to be supportive for the pelvis and the hips, and just like you said, Britt, bringing heat and blood flow back into the body.
I can do that. So I want to distinguish. So lack of gravity and lack of pressure is two different things, right? So in spacesuit, our US standard is 4.3 psi minimum for US astronaut to be in the suit and work. In reality, you need a minimum of 3 psi to survive. And just to compare, on Earth, naturally we get about maybe around 15, 14 psi. But truthfully, you don't need all that. So 3 psi is to keep the nitrogen bubble from your bloodstream from broil. And so have you dived before? If not, there's this thing called decompression sickness. So when a diver goes from the sea level or water level going down too fast, he or she will get bent. That's what they call it. And so astronauts, it's essentially the same thing. You'll get decompression sickness. That's the reason we need pressure. They need pressure when they're in space. And I would say, not exactly the same struggle about, coming back from space and regain gravity, but it is both extreme environment for moms and astronauts. And that's what motivated me, is that we're seeing the same problem that needs some sort of solution for. There's enough care for astronauts because they're so worshipped and they're heroes. But every mom is a hero, and there's not enough care for them. So I wanted to come up with a solution for that.
Amazing. Could you take us through the process of what it was like to start designing this? What makes it different from a traditional belly bind? And what was it like to, I know an article came out recently about the design of the product. I believe it was, correct me if I'm wrong, was it University of Delaware? I forget.
Yes.
University, okay.
I am so happy to talk about it, but I don't want to be me talking about it all the time. But I have to say, I owe it to my spacesuit connections, because the person that introduced me to Dr. Goria at University of Delaware Innovative Textile Lab is my coworker at the spacesuit company that I'm working in right now. So believe it or not, besides the engineers, we also hire quite a bit of recruits from UD, where they're working on more technical textile research. So UD has a 3D knitting machine, and they have a few graduate assistants. One of them is Casey Tyler. They helped us coming up with ideas and programming. And Dr. Goria, I can't thank her enough. She's kind of the backbone in coming up with some of these technical solutions with 3D knitting.
Yeah, I'm gonna just add to that, because I think this is a bigger point of the story and sort of the connecting space to birth, where you might not see that connection, right? I think all humans and children you can see this in children. All children have a love for space, right? There is this admiration and this deep awe for space, whether it's planets or astronauts or rockets, right? And when you make the connection to space and re-entry from space to Earth, there is this cool factor that is undeniable. And when I am with women and I am by their side in birth, it is the same awe for me. It is the same wonder. It is the same sacredness. And I wanted to connect those two so that there was more seriousness taken around the woman's body and what her body goes through to have humanity. You can't have astronauts going to Earth if you aren't making babies. Period.
So true. Yeah.
That for a moment, right? We are able to advance our society through being human. So the vessel of a human is through the woman's body. So when you connect space, there is a way that men want to talk about it. Women want to talk about it. There's a connection that I deeply saw. And when I said this to Amanda, and when she went to have this conversation of where do we even begin? Like, how is anyone going to even take us seriously, right? Like, how are you going to even have this conversation? It's an idea. Dr. Goria was the bridge for that, and Amanda, and taking a leap on us. And yes, we paid, of course, we're a company, we paid for this, right? But at the same time, Dr. Goria had C-sections herself. She immediately saw the need and the gap in the market. And without a doubt, there was no hesitation in let's make this happen. Let's bring this to market. Because when you are solving a problem, you're not just creating something to sell. Right? And that's the difference of our hearts and our ethos of like, why are we even doing this? Like in the very beginning, it wasn't about making money. Now we have money invested and we want to be successful and profitable. But at the very beginning, when Amanda and I were sitting down at a table across from each other, it was like, can we do this? Like that was the challenge. Yeah. Can we innovate? Can we have a patent? For us, I know Amanda's family story, my family story as women, to say that we have a provisional patent filed under our names, like that's a huge thing for my family, this generation. And I know Amanda feels the same way. It's a very, whether or not where we go from here or tomorrow doesn't matter. Her and I have that together. And we feel very honored that we've been able to do this. I'm 42. Amanda's a little bit younger than I am, but we feel quite good about where we're at in our age and being able to say, yeah, we filed a patent.
It's about time to have a startup, 40-year-old. That's
Yes.
it. It's America. Come on.
Okay. So yeah, sorry, Kate.
No, you're good. I was gonna say there has been so many changes that have happened over the generations for women and opportunities and what's out there, And I'm wondering, is this something that you guys saw growing up, this concept of being supported postpartum, whether by a belly band or just community?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to say for me, community for sure. On my mother's side, we're Mexican Italian. We come from a big family, lots of aunties and uncles, a lot of cooking, and definitely an understanding that women need to be taken care of and fed. And that was deeply ingrained in me, from my great grandmother to my grandmother to my mother. So yeah, absolutely. I think culture has a lot to do with postpartum, right? And how you see postpartum and where you're at in your life, whether socially, economically speaking, has a lot to do with it too, right? So yeah, that's for me. Amanda has a little bit of a different story. She wasn't born in America. She was born in China. So, but I'll let her speak for her experience.
So my grandma has 4 sons, and the oldest son is my dad. whenever we talk about women giving birth, she said, "What is the big deal? Every woman does that. So suck it up, buttercup." Well, in Chinese. So that's my first impression. Women giving birth, not a big deal. And then I learned a lot more from Brittany, you know, the rest of the story. I would say China actually have quite a bit of philosophy about conditioning the body. And that's what we put in our website. And that really is not just taking the right drug and all. It really comes through the way you move, the way you exercise, the way you eat, and the cuisines and the diet and everything comes, but it becomes like very holistic experience. And for postpartum women, there is a certain type of things you shouldn't do. They really condition the body. And I remember there's a term called 坐月子, which means you gotta stay still for a whole month and you shouldn't touch anything cold. You gotta eat brown sugar, not just white sugar. And so there's a whole lot of sayings and teachings just about that. And the other part I really was intrigued in, you know, when Brittany introduced me to the Malaysian belly binding, the Mengkun binding. My mother was in Malaysia for 6 years, and there's quite a bit of Chinese population in general, in Asian, Indian, blend with Malaysian country, and many other cultures. There's a specific way for postpartum care, and we're inspired by that because her and I, the other thing that we really blend is really the culture part of it. So using the wisdom from Asian countries that we don't know how it developed, but it's there and it's thousands of years of treasure. There's something must be done right about that. So that's the other part of our inspiration.
Mm-hmm. And how has belly binding evolved over the years from where it started in ancient cultures and traditions and how it is being used now around the world?
Yeah, I think that there's a really interesting sort of shift, if you will. So if you go back ancient times and you think about all the way back to like Egypt, and you go really, really far back, like before biblical, and then we come forward biblical, and then we come to like 1800s and European. When you think about womb wrapping and belly binding post-birth, it is not for waist training. And I think that's a very big distinction between why we designed our product the way we have, without Velcro, without boning, without glue, right? That is very intentional. Belly binding should support the fascia and the organs and be adaptive compression so that the wearer during the day moves with it and feels that they can breathe, not restricted. When you jump forward to the 1800s, you go to corsets and girdles. And this is where you have the pulling and the lacing of how a corset works and why you have boning. And this is waist training. This is a visual aesthetic versus an anatomical design. I don't think any woman in the 1800s loved being wrapped and tied and couldn't breathe to wear a dress so that her little waist looked little when it wasn't, right? I really can't imagine that was like, yeah, let me do this. This sounds fun. But, you know, women had to get married and they had to look a certain way. So there you go. But now you fast forward, and why are we still doing this? And we know it's not great. Waist training, women want support. They want stability. They want to have a small waist. They want a lot of things that you can't get in a design that's on the market today, specifically after you have a C-section, because the belly bands go right over, and so you don't have room for the incision. So how do you stabilize and give a woman the pressure, the compression, the stabilization that she needs after a major abdominal surgery? So that's really what led to the knotting system and being able to create space so that a woman can use the KB5 Knotted Belly Bind immediately after having surgery. And let's be serious, like, when do you get a surgery and not get some sort of garment to help you after? How, like, when is where you don't knee surgery, all the different surgeries. So, you know, this is no different. Our product should be covered by insurance so that all women have a choice when they leave the hospital to have stability and support post C-section. And even if it's a vaginal delivery, they still will benefit from it.
Yeah, and it just makes me think too, I have a lot of older family members, and not one of them has had a major surgery where there wasn't some kind of support, some kind of tool to aid in recovery. And so now, when there are women who are looking for products like belly bands, there's this gap in the market because we are still, from what I see, carrying these beliefs of trying to bounce back, especially in American culture. I know there's a lot of themes around hustle and just keep going and don't slow down. And I also think this connects to what Amanda was saying about conditioning the body, and also what you were talking about with staying still after giving birth. And I think that it's really powerful to look at the fact that conditioning and healing isn't always about moving, it's about support. And I had the opportunity to try on the belly band yesterday when me and Britt got together. Obviously, I'm pregnant, so I couldn't tie it all the way, but just having that piece of fabric wrapping around felt like a hug, and it felt like
Your hug,
that
yeah.
support that is so needed.
Yeah.
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 I think that that's something, it's interesting. We don't know that we want that feeling and need it until we put it on. And every woman from, you know, we've had different women, first of all, we beta tested this the entire way through. That's why we feel strong in the design. I put this on my clients. We really did beta test and we improved based off of feedback. We made changes. We changed the prototype. If I showed you the first prototype, you would laugh, right? Because it's so funny. It's like, I look back at the journey and it's so interesting. But the support you get is felt immediately. And you're like, I didn't know that I even wanted this or needed that. And that comes to an understanding of this, going back to what Amanda said in Chinese, staying still for 40 days confinement, right? In most cultures around the world, there is a 40-day confinement period. You are asked to be slow so that you can be the most productive. And in our American culture, being fast and staying busy and always having something to do equals being productive. And so when we shift from having career and being focused and answering emails and text message, and then we bring baby home and there's this slow, quiet, still, it is very jarring to the nervous system. It feels different than what we're used to, the pace in which we're used to. Binding asked women to slow down, and it had another woman to help her bind, and it took time and it took daily practice to do this. When we made the KB5, I wanted a woman to get that benefit, but be able to do it, one, on her own, and two, under 2 minutes. So you can bind and knot the KB5 in under 2 minutes. You can wear it under clothing or over clothing, right? It's not just to smooth your tummy out and hide that you just had a baby. So everything that was put into the design was highly intentional for the user and solving a problem that the user faces.
Yeah. And they also look good. It doesn't look like your traditional Velcro, the things you get from Amazon.
Yeah.
So I want to emphasize when I talk about that pressure is not the same pressure when you put in spacesuit. In spacesuit, you have essentially think about like a Michelin bubble, and you are a balloon man, right? So or a gal, like you're trying to move inside of this pressurized volume that just bulky, and you're trying to move the right way and be productive. Here we have a piece of garment. Women have full control of herself. It's adapted. You can tie however you want to tie to get the right support for you. And that's what I was almost just astonished of how simple that concept is. But sometimes the best design is simple. And I think coupled with 3D knitting, I have discovered so much material properties that I didn't even know, like just by the manufacturing process. And there's a little bit of pride in, made in America with the most cutting edge technology. And that's what we want to develop, our future product line is always to stay ahead of the technology. But back to what Britt just said, really the design is for human center, for users' need, and we give the user the maximum amount of customization, custom mentality. So you can tie it how you want to adapt to yourself.
And I remember when we were trying this on yesterday, I remember thinking at first, oh my God, like this looks kind of long. I'm a tiny girl, like short torso, but it truly is a flexible design. It was so easy to wrap around. The material, by the way, was amazing. I was petting it. I was like, oh my God, this is so nice. And it's definitely different from, for example, I have a belly band for pregnancy, not postpartum, but I haven't even worn it because the material is not the same. It's tight, it's not very flexible, and what you guys have created is truly something that is versatile. I also wanted to come back to something that was mentioned earlier that Britt was talking about, which is the sense of awe and wonder that we have both with space and with motherhood. And I think that both involve concepts of the unknown. We have people going to space, to a whole other place where there is no human civilization, and finding out info and how we can learn more about how that affects us. And then with motherhood, we have women going through an entire identity shift and finding out what that looks like. So I think there's this really beautiful connection between how we support people coming home to themselves and finding this sense of grounding again, which is where I think what I see, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's what I see on an emotional level between you guys, is there is work around such expansive fields, and then you guys come together and create something that is grounding, and that is the warmth and the hug that women don't know they need until they try it.
Yeah, that was beautifully said. I think that goes to the re-entry part, right? So when you re-enter, I'm sure that astronauts, I have not done this, but I am imagining this, that when you come back, there is an awe and wonder that you have, and it's probably changed you for the rest of your life when you come back from seeing, space and looking at Earth from a different angle. When you go to labor land and you have birth, and you have vaginal or surgical birth, both are sacred, right? And there is this re-entry to life, and there is this birthing of a new woman. And so in both, I think that awe and wonder definitely crosses. And so every time Amanda and I get together, whether or not it's a work getting together or a social, it becomes both, because our work is our life. We love what we do. We are so, I mean, you know this about me because I'm your doula. I will sit and talk any day, all day to anybody about birth who will listen. And Amanda will do the same. And so we love that our passions get to do something, that we get to create something tangible, that a woman gets to put something on and feel good. And we know that we actually created that. I mean, there's no better reward. And I always think about my daughter and how amazing our company is for that generation, that we are thinking of women's body in this way, that we are applying engineering principles to the woman's body in this way. For far too long, women have been way too much contributors to society without getting what we need. And there is a big shift and change. And I know that it's in the data, it's in the stats. There's more women leaders. There are more women graduating college. There are more women making more money. We are asking for what we need, and we're designing from a place to meet women, to give them what they're asking for.
Yeah, I was so proud, so honored, and surprised, how much likers to our first LinkedIn post that we launched on Mother's Day and made an announcement on LinkedIn are coming from NASA Johnson Space Center. And that's really an honor. And often I wasn't educated enough on, I just forget how difficult it is. In fact, many others. So my point is, we can do so good of a job, take care of astronauts who does exploration for humanity in space, but not care enough for half of the populations on Earth. The whole point about space, maybe half of the point about space, is to make life better on Earth too. There's so much contingent technology developed from NASA's D's and space development in general. Additionally, I see career women nowadays are also under the same amount of pressure as men. And additionally, they have the whole session about childbirth, where they go through physical transformation. It feels great to create a human being out of their body, but I just want the recovery session for them to be easier.
Absolutely. And I think womanhood truly is about fulfilling all these different areas of life, whether someone is a mother and an astronaut, or one or the other, or wherever life is taking them. And of course, too, there are mothers who are going to raise people who want to become astronauts and go to space. And I think that having you two work together on this just brings people together from all different walks of life. Because Amanda, I feel like you have the engineering background and the scientific background, and that is such a hot topic nowadays, and there's so much technology out there that people are looking into. And then Britt, you have this beautiful perspective around bringing in life, around embodiment and identity and all of that. So it's just really amazing to see these two worlds combining. Was there anything else that you guys want to share about the belly bind? When people can expect for it to be live? I think I saw that you guys have pre-orders open right now, right?
We do, yeah. So you can pre-order it. We just got our materials over to our manufacturers in North Carolina, so we should be fully ready by June 1st to fulfill orders, but we can take pre-orders now. And I think that this is just the very beginning for us. And I think that there's such an interesting place to design from for the cyclical body, integrating textile technology, wearable AIs. I mean, the sky's the limit right now. And Amanda and I both love technology, and we love challenging ourselves. So I would say just stay tuned for the next to like what we start. We're already talking about our next product and R&D. So we are absolutely crazy because like we just got our product onto the market and it's not even like we've had 2 orders actually, which is great, but we're already thinking about, okay, what is it in the IVF journey that we can solve? We've thought about we've heard and been looking at problems to solve. And so we're using the enthusiasm, the momentum to continue.
Amazing. Well, I wanted to thank you guys so much for doing this interview and sharing the journey of creating This Is Spaceware. I think it's really going to both intrigue a lot of women and, of course, help them feel supported and heard and really just bring together these ancient traditions that women did beforehand with this modern life. I think we're figuring it out and we're getting there slowly but surely. And I love that you guys are a part of that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kate, for your great questions.
Of course. Thank you.